car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with the attorneys of Hollis, Wright.
Welcome. You are watching The Attorneys. A question for you. Do I have a case, and when do I need a personal injury lawyer? That's the topic that we're dealing with today on The Attorneys. I'm Art Franklin. So glad to have you with us. But right off the top, let me tell you this. You can get in contact with a lawyer at Hollis Wright right now. All you have to do is dial 1-844-LAW-TALK. It is a free and confidential call. Lawyers are manning the phone right now. We've got a lawyer with us, with Carter and I. Rob Riddle, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, Art, I'm really excited about the show tonight. Of course, we've been airing for quite some time in the Montgomery area, but this is our first guest that we've had on Montgomery Lawyer. And not only do we have an attorney from Montgomery, we've actually got multiple lawyers from this firm. So I'm really excited to have all of them here with us from the Hawthorne, Atchison, and Riddle law firm. They do incredible work for individuals injured in all kinds of different accidents in or around the Montgomery area, throughout the Middle District, really throughout the whole state of Alabama. So I'm really excited to have Rob on with us for this first segment, and then his partners will be coming up on the next two segments as well. So Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the nature of your personal practice and your law firm, and kind of what types of cases y'all handle.
Sure. So Hawthorne, Atchison, and Riddle was formed in 2022, and that's Ray Hawthorne, Tommy Atchison, and myself. And we had all worked together previously. Had done different things within our practice, but then we all started to gravitate slowly towards concentrating on personal injury work. So we have three offices. We have a Montgomery office, a Prattville office, and a Selma office. And for the most part, all of the work that we do is concentrated in the personal injury arena.
Okay, great. Do you specialize in a particular area of personal injury? I've kind of titled this show All Things Personal Injury because we're covering a broad array of topics within the personal injury umbrella, but I'm just curious what you like to practice in and what you do typically.
Yeah, we have a variety of personal injury cases that we handle. I wouldn't say we necessarily specialize in one concentrated area, but I mean, for the most part, if someone has suffered an injury, we like to look at the cases, whether it's a car wreck, a slip and fall, a products liability case, medical malpractice case. I mean, we really are pretty diverse in the areas that we cover.
Yeah. Here's a great question right off the bat from a viewer. When might I need to call a personal injury lawyer? It seems like a very simple and straightforward question, but a lot of times out there people are injured in a lot of different areas and ways, and they're apprehensive, they're hesitant about calling a lawyer. Oh, I don't have a case. Well, just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and we get that call a lot, and someone will call us and say, I was in a car wreck, for instance. What should I do? And you're right, a lot of people are unsure of what to do. I think a lot of it is they're anxious. They've just been in a wreck. Now they're having to deal with insurance companies. They're having to go see doctors, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, we tell people, call a lawyer as soon as you can. I think there's a big misconception sometimes that people think, well, I'm going to kind of do a lot of these things on my own, get through the front end of some of these issues, and then I'll reach out to a lawyer. And that's fine. And we talk to a lot of people that by the time they've called us, maybe they've already talked to an insurance company, they've seen doctors, and that's okay too. But we tell people, talk to a lawyer as soon as you can, because there is a lot that goes into navigating an injury claim from the very beginning all the way to the end.
Yeah, and although I personally feel like it's a good idea to hire a lawyer right off the bat to protect your rights, remind the viewers, they don't have to hire the lawyer that they call immediately. It's up to them on if they want to hire that attorney or when they want to hire them, but you'll give them a free consultation.
Absolutely, and I probably have that same conversation several times a week, and I'll talk to people for free over the phone. I'll have a free consultation with them. I'll kind of give them the overall roadmap of things to do and what to expect, but I always end the conversation with, whether you hire our firm or any other firm, please talk to a lawyer.
Yeah, and Art, I think it's important for the viewers to remember, if they don't know this already, all of the cases that our firm handles at Hollis Wright and that Rob and them handle, they're all on a contingency fee basis, which means we don't get paid unless we successfully recover money for them. So they're never going to have to come out of pocket at all on their own to pay for our services. If we lose the case or if we decline the case, we just don't get paid. Is that right, Rob?
That's how it works.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that initial conversation, you're evaluating whether this is a good case, of course. But in addition to contacting the lawyer, you'll tell them what are the other initial steps that a person needs to take when they're looking to have a personal injury case.
Ideally, we would like for people to gather as much information as they can, again, from the very beginning, whether that's, taking photographs, documenting any trips to see doctors. Maybe they've contacted their insurance company. So again, we'd like for people to do as much as they can on their own. Like I say, the evidence and the facts don't get any fresher than they are right there after something happens. And so the more you can document those things, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and as you know, there's a lot that we can do as their attorney to order records and reports and things of that nature. But like you mentioned, some things we can't get, right? The bite on your leg, if it's a dog bite case, if you call us 6 months after the fact, that a lot of that injury may be gone. He may just be left with a scar. So you're right. Get it while it's fresh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Well, we're getting started.
Yeah.
Just getting started. We got a lot to talk to. We've been talking with Rob Riddle, and we're going to get a chance to talk to a couple more partners right after this. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here. We want to remind you that you're watching The Attorneys. Call 1-844-LAW-TALK. You can reach someone for a free and confidential call. You can also get in contact with us on all the social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, whether it's X or Facebook. Great content there that we share throughout the week, and you can see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff as well. It's good there. Stick around. We're going to meet some more partners from the firm when we come back. You're watching The Attorneys. Stay with us.
Here's some good information from our firm to you. Hollis Wright recently launched the Law Talk podcast. With podcasts becoming so popular, this will be a simple way to provide our loyal viewers with more opportunities to access information about important legal topics and to learn more about our firm and how we can help you if the need ever arises. There are many ways to access the Law Talk podcast. You can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Also, episodes are always available on the Hollis Wright YouTube channel, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Just search up Hollis Wright in the Law Talk podcast. Don't wait, take advantage and listen today. Thanks for watching The Attorneys, and we know you'll enjoy the Law Talk podcast.
The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show in 2011, my goal was to do what our firm does best. Help people answer questions related to real-world legal issues they have in their lives in a way that's not intimidating to talk with a lawyer. If the issue is important to you, it's equally important to us, and we're ready to talk with you at no cost.
Yeah, oftentimes people are confronting various legal issues in their lives that really run the gamut of a lot of different legal practice areas, such as bankruptcy, criminal law, civil law, such as personal injury, divorces, domestic relations. And to be able to have a show once a week that covers those practice areas and answers people's questions in those areas, that's really the main objective of the show.
We use the resources of the many lawyers at our law firm to create a plan that has a lasting impact for each person that calls or texts. And we also give back to the community at the same time. We are here to serve you, the viewer, each week on The Attorneys.
Addiction kills hope.
But at Bradford, it all changes here.
Experience the difference
that proven treatment can make.
Find recovery. Find community.
at Bradford.
Welcome back to The Attorneys. Our topic is, do I have a case and when do I need a personal injury lawyer? We met one of the partners. We're going to meet another now. Tommy Atchison is joining us now, Clay.
Yeah, well, we were going to introduce you as Thomas Atchison, but one of your partners said they don't know Thomas Atchison. They only know Tommy Atchison.
Right.
So, Tommy, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
I've been called a lot worse, Clay. Hey, thanks for having us.
Sure,
we
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about your personal practice. We heard from Rob earlier in terms of kind of his practice and what he specializes in, but what are you particularly interested in handling when it comes to personal injury cases?
So we've got these 3 different locations, like Rob said, in Prattville, Selma, and Montgomery, and I pretty much handle the Selma work and the surrounding counties, Wilcox, Lowndes, Perry, all those areas, Hale. But I do primarily car accidents, and like Rob was saying, that's kind of where we have evolved as a firm over the last 2 years, just to focus on car accidents, but also slip and falls, medical malpractice, and things of that nature.
Okay, well, this next viewer question or two should be right in your wheelhouse then. So the first question we've got is, if I am in a car accident, do I have to report the accident to my insurance company?
Yes, immediately.
Okay.
If you're insured, the first thing you need to do after you notify local law enforcement and whatever emergency services you may require or need, or passengers may require or need, is call your insurance company, because there's certain provisions in each insurance policy that if you have a delay or have issues with reporting or putting them on notice that you have a potential claim, then they could potentially deny coverage. And unfortunately, a lot of times people aren't aware of that, and that's a very important thing to do. So yes, as soon as you can, you or someone in your family or household, notify the insurance company.
Yeah, and that's the same advice that we give our clients at our law firm, but invariably the response I get is another question along the lines of, well, it wasn't my fault, and I don't want to have to put it on my insurance. And what we tell them, which is probably the same thing that y'all tell them, is look, just giving your insurance company notice of the accident does not mean that you have to make a claim on your insurance.
I get that a lot, and I think Rob and Ray would agree that a lot of times people don't want to involve their insurance company at all. But the thing is, there's a lot of folk in Alabama riding around without insurance, without liability coverage. Yep. And so if you're fully insured, you probably have provisions within your insurance policy that would cover you and protect you and compensate you for damages you received if you're in an accident with a person who does not have insurance or liability coverage that otherwise you could claim.
Yeah.
And what I tell our people, and I'm sure you do too, Clay, especially if you're not at fault in the accident, you shouldn't worry about your insurability or your premiums rising or whatever else. It's a benefit you've paid for, and a lot of people don't even know they have it.
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing, Art, too, remember, is that when it comes to property damage, of course, we typically, and I know Rob and Tommy and them do as well, we try and allow our clients to handle the property damage aspect of their claim. We don't get involved in that to the extent can be avoided. We just handle the personal injury claim, but oftentimes what they find out is they don't want to put the property damage claim on their own insurance company. They want to put it on the at-fault party's insurance company. Well, they get jerked around, and they're not providing them with compensation for that property damage. And so what we would tell them is well, go put it on your insurance, let your insurance company pay you, and then let your insurance company go after the other insurance company and get reimbursed for what they paid you. And so sometimes, as you know, it's, Tommy, it's almost unavoidable to sort of get your insurance company involved.
Sure, and in that situation, your insurance company will reimburse you for your deductible that you have to pay them for their repairing your vehicle or totaling out as a total loss.
So that's the kind of good advice you get by watching the show here, and that's why we bring on other experts to help go through it as well. The other side of that, another viewer question, if I'm in a car accident, should I talk with the other driver's insurance company?
Never.
Never. Flat.
No.
He's very matter of fact, Tommy is.
They're not in the business of collecting premiums and making a lot of money because they enjoy paying claims.
Yeah.
So there actually are like algorithms that some of the companies that I won't name use to evaluate a claim. And it takes the whole human element, the whole human aspect out of it. Like your pain and suffering, your doctor's visits, your missed work, how difficult it is to get in and out of the car after your accident, or get kids to school, or whatever. So no, the answer is no. They're looking for every reason they can to, if not deny your claim, reduce its value as most they can.
That's what they're searching for, information
Correct.
from
They
you
are.
so they can reduce your
But there
claim.
is one caveat to that. Obviously, what I just said is, and I do tell my clients this, look, you can talk with the other insurance company about your property damage claim only. But if they start asking you any questions about how did the accident happen, what are your injuries, sign a medical authorization form, all that is completely off limits.
attorney.
But obviously, if you're making a claim for the property damage on the at-fault party's insurance, you've got to at least converse with them about the property damage. But Tommy's absolutely right. Other than that, you don't want to have your clients talking to them about
Said, call my attorney.
That's right. That's right. It's just, especially like Clay says, if they start getting into your bodily injury claims or medical bills or your injuries or whatever else. Now it streamlines it for the client to get paid faster as far as the car is concerned. And our letters of representation to the other party insurance companies and our own insurance companies authorize our clients to speak with them about property damage, but property damage only. Leave all the bodily injury stuff up to us, and you talk to my office about that.
Let's get one more question in. Client says, or a person says, I was in an accident, but I'm not really sure that I'm hurt. I've just got a little bit of neck pain. What is your advice to them in terms of getting or not getting medical treatment?
Depending on whether or not they were seen immediately at the scene of the accident, and if they have a primary care physician, I always tell them to follow up with a primary care physician if they weren't seen immediately, especially if it kind of onsets, because believe it or not, it's a true and it's a fact and it's medically proven that some of the soft tissue stuff that people claim, oh, my neck, my back, my whatever, it really does onset afterwards, sometimes days after. And you want to make sure you're fully compensated for any of those injuries that were caused by the actions of another or inaction of another.
Gaps in treatment will cost you mightily in the world in which we practice.
Yep. All right. Well, it's been good talking with you, Tommy.
Tommy, hey.
We're going to go ahead and take a break
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Yes. We're going to meet the third person from the law firm. So glad to have you with us. You're watching The Attorneys, and we're speaking with the Montgomery Law Firm about personal injury claims and when legal help is absolutely necessary. We'll get into that when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching The Attorneys.
Thank you for watching The Attorneys each Sunday night, where we come to your living room to provide free legal advice in a confidential, off-air setting. Unfortunately, with the number of calls, texts, and emails that come in during the show, we can't always get to everything. But know this, Hollis Wright is open all week long. You call us at 844-LAW-TALK and we're going to answer your question for free. Thank you for watching The Attorneys, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you soon.
If this place could talk, it wouldn't. It would sing and celebrate all of our stories of addiction recovery, victory, and community. This is Bradford Health Services. It all changes here.
Welcome back to The Attorneys, and we're wrapping up our conversation tonight on personal injury. When do I have a case, and when do I need a personal injury lawyer? And we're going to wrap it up with Ray Hawthorne, came up from Montgomery. So glad to have you.
Glad to be here. Thank y'all for having us. I appreciate it.
Is it fair to say we saved the best for last?
Oh, 100%, without a doubt. My partners might disagree, but, you know, that's okay.
That's all right. We're happy to have you and all your partners here with us tonight. Thanks so much for being here. So let's just jump back in to these questions. If I have a slip and fall somewhere and I'm injured, do I have a case? So obviously there are a lot more facts that you would need to know to determine whether or not there's a viable cause of action. But talk to the viewers a little bit about slip and fall.
Sure. So slip and fall it's a little bit more difficult area of the law opposed to a car wreck. You know, somebody rear ends somebody, it's clear who's at fault. A slip and fall, there's a little bit more to it because you have to show that the premises, the business owner kept their premises in an unsafe condition, and that they had noticed that it was unsafe, or that they should have had notice because the condition was unsafe for such a long time. Then there's also issues of, well, was the substance on the floor or the unsafe issue, was it so open and obvious that whoever got hurt by it, they should have seen it? So there's a lot more, I think, that goes into that opposed to like a car wreck type case. And I think that's one of the benefits of contacting an attorney. And what I tell all my clients is, let us handle all of the legal side of things. All I want you to do is focus on going to the doctor and getting better. And especially in these premise liabilities, these slip and falls at different businesses, that's really important for us to be dealing with the company and their insurance and letting the client focus on getting better, because there's a lot of twists and turns to them.
Yeah, and I think one of the important distinctions, at least on the front end in evaluating a slip and fall versus a car wreck case, is generally speaking, when we get a copy of the accident report from a car wreck case, it doesn't take us very long to figure out whether or not that's a valid or viable case, right?
Right.
Slip and falls are totally different. Slip and falls, trip and falls, there's a lot of information that we have to gather in the course of our investigation in order to be able to determine whether or not they might have a viable cause of action. Has that been your experience?
100% agree. And a lot of that information, you know, if you fall in a store, stores have policies and procedures, and they do incident reports. Some of them have security footage, but you can't get that unless you file a lawsuit. And so the benefit to hiring an attorney, in my opinion, in these trip and falls and slip and fall type cases is you get the benefit of an attorney, especially folks at our firm that have navigated that. We know what we're looking for. We know what to pay attention to. And again, the client can focus on going to the doctor and getting better. And then in the meantime, we can evaluate, all right, do we think we have enough evidence based on what they're telling us, based on photos we may or may not have? Is there a case or not? Or is it a close call? And that's something you've got to really look at, how to evaluate the case.
And Art, you know, we've handled what we call premises liability cases all the time on this show, and we don't have enough time to cover all of this in this segment. But one big factor is that why were you on the property that you were on when you got injured? Were you trespassing? Were you invited to be there? Were you a licensee or a social guest or shopping? So within those three different categories, the premises owner has different standards that they've got to live up to related to keeping their property in a safe condition and warning you about dangers and things of that nature. So there's really just a lot that goes into those types of cases.
That's right.
A lot that goes into it. Let me jump on another question here. If I'm injured while working at my job, what are my remedies there?
Okay, so we have one of the lawyers at our firm solely does workers' compensation cases. And generally what that is if you're injured on the job, whether it's your fault or not, you typically are entitled to some sort of recovery. The workers' comp insurance for that company will set you up with a nurse and a doctor, and they'll set you up with treatment to get you more or less healed from your injuries. And so, yes, you do have a claim. You're entitled to compensation for that. Those are evaluated a little bit differently. And there's also a lot of other different factors to consider when looking at an on-the-job injury. Was there a third-party cleaning crew that didn't clean the area properly that may have some liability? Is the employer liable because they removed a safety device from one of the machines that was working? We do a lot of industrial-type accident cases where a safety guard has been removed or things like that. Josh Wright has helped me out on a couple of those and talked me through some of those. So on-the-job injuries are kind of a different animal, and there's a lot of different aspects to look at. But it's good to work with firms like y'all and with us that know what they're looking for and know what to do in cases like that.
Yeah, and car wrecks they're a great example of somebody that's working, say they're a delivery man, and somebody runs a red light and hits them. They're going to potentially have two claims. They've got their workers' compensation where they can get their medical benefits paid and they can get 2/3 of their wages while they're off work. But guess what? They've also got a claim against the at-fault driver, and so in that context, you've got two claims.
That's right. And we look at a lot of different things, especially in the car wreck scenario and the industrial type accidents where there's machines involved, and then the third party claims where there's other drivers involved and you're working on the job, because you're entitled to be compensated for your on the job injury through work comp, and then potentially any liability insurance from any third party. So.
Yeah, and one of the big complaints that we get about workers' compensation is, unfortunately, the benefits, the monetary benefits that you get for your actual injury, they're way too low. There have been efforts to try and increase those benefits, make them more consistent with the injuries that people have suffered. But to this point, hadn't gotten very far in the legislature. But one of the trade-offs is that in a workers' compensation context, and it's the only context where this exists pretty much, is you don't have to prove that your employer did something wrong or that somebody else did something wrong that caused your injury. As long as you were injured on the job, whatever your injury is, you're going to get your medical bills paid and you're going to get some level of compensation.
Yeah, we had some great viewer questions here. Here's another one, Ray, for you. What if I'm injured by a product that I purchased? Is there a legal recourse for this?
Well, and products liability cases are inherently difficult just by nature of you've got to have some sort of background in what is the product, what's its intended use, was the person using it properly, did they follow all the different instructions, is it a poor design, was it designed improperly? We have a case right now that we're looking at that a tree stand just collapsed. And they shouldn't do that.
No.
And so we're looking at, is it designed improperly? Was the metal that they used, did they test it correctly? And so there's a lot of different angles that you want to look at for products liability, because you typically have to have an expert come in and look at the product and offer alternative designs or safer designs. But there's a lot of products out there that people just put out on the market to make a quick buck, and they're not safe for consumers. And we can help evaluate, do you have a potential claim if you're injured by a product?
Yeah, and I know one of your experiences with all these product liability cases are you got to have a significant injury for the most part, or involving a death to justify pursuing, because these cases are very expensive to pursue. We almost always have to hire experts to help us prove our case. And again, we don't get those expenses back unless we recover for the client. So we have to be pretty cautious and selected with those product liability cases that we pursue. We'll get calls from time to time where somebody got injured using a product and they went to the emergency room and got released. Going to be very difficult to bring a product liability because the injuries just don't justify that type of investment.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any final advice to our viewers?
If you are hurt in any way by no fault of your own on the job, in a car wreck, at a business, if you fall, one of the questions you asked my partners earlier was, when is a good time to call a personal injury lawyer? And like I've been saying, our job is to evaluate, number one, do you have a claim? And then number two, let us handle all the legal aspects of it, the investigation side of it. Because I think clients do a lot better when they're not having to worry about the legal aspects of it. And we can focus on that, and they can focus on going to the doctors and getting better.
Very good. Ray, Rob, and Tommy, thank you guys for coming up from Montgomery.
Thank y'all.
And thank you for watching another episode of The Attorneys. We hope to see you back here again next week.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.